Hello everyone, my name is John Michael Bushman, and we are doing something different today. This is my Digimon card game deck profile for this monstrosity right here, Belphemon. I've only started playing the Digimon card game recently, and this marks the fourth card game that I know how to play. Oh god, the perks of working at a hobby shop does some things to you. So yeah, apart from Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, and Yu-Gi-Oh, I now also know how to play Digimon. And this game is on the main attraction to me is for this game is it's really easy. All things considered, there may be a lot of words on it, but when you put it all together, this game is surprisingly easy to play. That was my main draw to it. Hell, even the interactions between like each of the cards, there's only like one to four things happening at any given moment, and that's really good for me. Although the only thing that makes this game quote unquote complicated is that when your Digimon piles, as I call it, or if you want to be pedantic about it, the Digivolutions, especially when their Digivolution stacks get really tall, like 8 to 10 cards deep even. I've seen some decks can do that, but with this deck in particular, there's only like four max. Because of how this deck functions. So this deck is built around this monstrosity right here, Belphemon, which is, surprise, the villain. The villain Digimon of Akihiro Kurata here. Of all things, why is it always when I go into these anime games, I always pick out the deck of I somehow all I always gravitate towards the deck of the villain for some reason. So my ratios here are for me at least, this is like very clean, apart from a few that I would love to change if I get more reps with this deck. But otherwise, yeah, this is the start of the show, Belphemon, and we're on untap right now because I don't have a account on any of the card making or deck building. There, that was the term I was using on the any other Digimon based deck building website just yet. So untap is like my next best thing. So there's that, and probably here on the side, I will put like a picture of sleeping baby Belphemon. Because who doesn't like a cute little baby here? Like, look at him here. He's sleeping like a little baby, and then he grows up. He goes, "Rrr," So yeah, we're gonna go through the card by card here, and as much as I want to explain Mario shows, this is like really clean, and because of how the Digimon game plays out, sometimes having like four of everything is really good. So we're actually going to start with the Digitama here. Our Digitama of choice is Demi-Metamon. Because on deletion it draw it's a draw one discard one, and a lot of cards in this deck all say the same thing. You draw a card and then you discard a card, and Demi Metamon is no exception. Of note, because of how Protogizamon interacts with this, hell, you can sacrifice it straight from the breeding area. It's insane that you can do that, because it says right there from the breeding area and whatnot. So yeah, we're gonna go through it alphabetically because that's how Untap presents itself here. So we're gonna start with Akihiro Kurata here. This is the Belphemon's Tamer, if you can believe that. So good thing we have an English translation here. Oh, by the way, I am playing with the Japanese meta. We are as of the recording of this video, Blast Ace had just come out, or BT14 if you wanna search it by numbers. And this deck came out in BT13, which is the deck previous to this. And surprisingly, a lot of the players in the community told me that the deck I chose is surprisingly cheap, because a lot of the cards are at common, and even the high rarity cards are also surprisingly cheap. Well, except for Analog Boy, which I will get to in a bit. So Akihiro Korata is like one of the linchpins of this deck, and it's not hard to see why. Because during your turn, when you would play a Belphemon, you can sacrifice a Gizamon to reduce the play cost by the deleted Digimon's play cost. So if you have, let's say, I don't know, XT on the field, baby Belphi, where is he? There we go. Belphemon becomes two. You only need to play two memory to play Belphemon here. Oh, by the way, if you're here, I'm assuming you also know how to play Digimon. Otherwise, you can just listen to me talk about a card game that you don't know that you don't know about. I will share this in like the various groups that I'm in here in the Philippines, and the community is really really small, but they are really really tight knit, and that's what I like about it. So going back to Kurata here, more often than not, actually, you will not play this from your hand because of what Gizamon XT does, but we'll get to that when we get there. And then he also has an effect during the end of your opponent's turn. You draw one and discard one. Sometimes that's more that you can just stop right there, because he also has an additional effect where if you would you could place him at the as the bottom evolution card of a Belphemon in its name, and then you delete a level 6 Digimon of your under your opponent's control. That is insane removal by just attaching himself to Belphemon. You can just pop an opponent's Digimon like off the face of the earth. Although it's really slow, as I've come to find out. Although if you do set things up right, you can like set your opponent back very very far. Up next we have Analog Boy. This is the these are like what I was talking about earlier. The certain ratios in this deck are like pretty stock for a Belphemon deck, but this is something that I could argue with. The build that I found off of the internet, because I just literally just got into this game recently. Some builds don't even run this at all, even though, personally speaking, this deck basically uses its graveyard like a second hand anyway, because of all of the Gizamons in it. I would max out on it, but I can see why you only really need to run the two, and then the two purple memory boost to back it up. Both cards essentially do the same thing. Analog Boy reveals three, Purple Memory Boost reveals four. Yes, I will talk about them basically around the same time because they essentially do the same thing, although the difference being uh oh god, my train of thought like stopped for a second there. There we go. All right. Analog Boy puts it in the trash pile, while Purple Memory Boost puts it at the bottom of the deck. So yeah, that's the main difference. And I honestly prefer Analog Boy by the more I think about it, I prefer Analog Boy. But Purple Memory Boost does give you the coveted +2 memory, and during your winning turns, you definitely need that, because if there's one thing that this deck doesn't do or at least this specific build doesn't do too well, is that it doesn't gain too much memory. More often than not, you will find yourself like hard casting a lot of your high cost Digimon here, but sometimes it's usually more than enough. And then it also Analog Boy also has this weird effect that I don't get to trigger too often. Wherein a level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution cards is deleted, I can suspend this tamer and I gain one memory to hatch a Digi Egg to an empty space in my breeding area. So I'm not too sure about the rulings if you would gain a memory. Oh right. I remember what happened. I already had a Digitama in my breeding area, but apparently I'm still able to gain a memory. In spite of having the requirements being like halfway done already. I don't know why, but if it works that way, it works that way. So there's that, and then the security thing. Oh yeah, same with Kurata. If these two cards are like taken out of security, they're just put into play. So there's also that. Up next, we have Astamon. This is like one of your high level Digimon here. When he comes into play or when he digivolves, you can delete a purple Digimon and then you can just slap Belphemon from hand without paying its digivolution cost. It can be any of the Belphemons here. I mean, there's only two, but more often than not, you would want Baby Belphi. Although if you're going to do Baby Belphi here, Ragemon needs to be in the graveyard so that he can gain his basically immunity to being affected by your opponent's shenanigans until the end of the turn. And then he also has a once per turn effect that your high level Digimon inherits. Whenever you trash a card from hand, you may play a level 4 lower Digimon from trash without paying its cost. It's usually Gizamon 80 because he is a draw engine, an insane draw engine at that. Then we move on to the star of the show, Belphemon Rage Mode. This guy is, for me at least, he is very, very swingy. He's either hitting your opponent's security for two at a time or only for one. Because sometimes you've drawn so many cards and you've bricked so hard, and this game doesn't have a maximum hand size, so you can have like 10 cards in hand and you cannot do what Battlefield 1 is supposed to do. But in the games where you do have six or less cards in hand, the 3000 attack is sometimes more than enough to make your opponent like prepare a lot of blockers to stop Belphemon from completely devastating them. And hell, it doesn't even stop there. Uh, it- at the start of the main phase, you can just board wipe all of the low level Digimons in your opponent's area. Like, that's insane. It's just insane. And then it doesn't even stop there. If sleep mode is like the top card of the Digivolution stack, you just get rid of it, and then boom, baby Belphemon wakes up. And then you can start smashing stuff around now. Speaking of baby Belphemon, here he is, Belphemon Sleep Mode. Like I alluded to earlier, if you would digivolve this thing and you have Rage Mode in the graveyard, you would put Rage Mode directly underneath Belphemon Sleep Mode here, and then he would be immune to all of your opponent's shenanigans until the end of their turn. So yeah, it's a little bit of protection, and the protection doesn't even stop there. By trashing two cards from your hand, you can basically negate an attack. Uh, Sometimes that is like it's like a secondary blocker. Same with XT here was also a blocker. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to the Giza once we get there. Yeah. And at 11,000 DP, that's like also very hard to get through, especially when your opponent cannot like do too much about it. Also, you can even choose to not pay the the Digivolution cost here, as you can see here. In the purple corner here, you can like just pray 3 memory to like slap this on top of an Astamon. You can even hard evolve it, or if you already have a Rage mode, you can use that to put Baby Belphi here on top of it. Up next, our one of fun of, we have a bunch of them, because this is like currently limited on the ban list. Same with OG Icemon here. Calling from the darkness. Delete the Digimon, return two purple Digimon from your trash to your hand. Note, this can also put back the very Digimon you just deleted. That is insane. No wonder this thing is limited. And apparently, this was limited not because of Belpemon, but from some other purple X, or basically some purple Digimon was is responsible for putting this to one. And if it was taken out of security, it's added to hand. So that is insane recursion for this deck in particular. Up next, another limited card, Eismon. Apparently, Eismon was limited for the same sins that Calling from the Darkness is, because there was one deck in particular that can use and abuse this to maximum effect. And then basically, if you would trash it from your hand by using one of your effects, which is like usually any of the Gizumons, or hell, even Baby Belphemon, because his wording is you trash a card rather than discard a card. That's like a difference that I had to like adjust really quickly in Digimon. Yeah, because it trashes most of the effects here, trashes the card. It triggers Eismon here really, really easily. And then if you have scatter mode in your graveyard or trash pile, if you want to be pedantic about it, he gets a plus 2000 buff, so he can be upwards up to like 13 even, if the stars align right. Is it 13? Wait, for each is in your trash. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. Yeah, 13. He can go up to like 13 DP, and that is a very big number for your opponent to get through. But other than that, yeah, he's just a really big attacker. And speaking of Icemon Scatter Mode, here he is. He's for me at least, this is Scatter Mode is like just a stepping ladder to get to your bigger place. Although the main reason, his main draw, quite literally, is he draws two and trashes two. It's if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, that effect is very familiar because that's the exact wording on Graceful Charity. And because again the wording is trash, you can trigger any on trash effects like Icemon here, or I think just Icemon, or hell, even if Astamon is like a Digivolution material, you can even trigger that as well. So yeah, and although he has to be deleted, so and more often than not, you're using like Belphemon Ragemon here to do that work, because on top of being able to get rid of security twice. He also has another mode. There, yeah, end of attack once per turn. You have to delete a Digimon to unsuspend him, and then he can attack again. That is like basically four security checks in one turn. So yeah, it's once per turn. So they knew what they were doing with that. So yeah, up next, after scatter mode, Gazimon. This is personally speaking a flex slot. This can change depending on what the meta calls for, but currently, I guess I cannot speak too much on what the meta is right now, but I'm assuming that gaining memory via Digimon's effects and just using tamers is a lot harder for some decks than others. Although there is one player in particular at the LGS I work at, he uses tamers exclusively. I think his deck is colloquially called Security Control, where he doesn't really use a lot of Digimon and instead relies on manipulating the security or using a lot of stall cards in order to achieve victory. And then he cheats out this, I think, a couple of really big Digimon into play, and then he uses those to finish me off. So yeah, Gazimon is more often than not a meta call, so you can fiddle around with this slot in particular with whatever ails you at your local meta. Up next, we have Gift of Darkness. This is the primary and honestly the only removal spell in this deck. You delete a level 6 or higher Digimon, which is usually your opponent's boss monster. And then after that, you may evolve one of your Digimon into a Belphemon sleep mode from your trash at no cost. The wording on this is surprisingly weird, because you still need to respect the level requirement. So basically you need to have an Astamon on field in order for Gift of Darkness to fully resolve its effect. You cannot digivolve Rage mode, or you cannot digivolve Rage mode, but you can surprisingly digivolve. Oh wait, no, you can digivolve into Rage mode, but you cannot digivolve into Sleep mode for some weird reason. I don't know why, but it's a really weird ruling or wording. I have to check up on the judges every time I make this play. And it also has a security effect where you trash a Digimon from your hand and then you just delete a Digimon that has an equal or lower level. So it's basically what the first effect does, but slightly more lenient. And then next we have the three Gizamons in here. We have Gizamon 80, Gizamon XT, and Proto Gizamon. All of them are far offs. We're going to start with the lowest level one first. Proto Gizamon. This is usually the one that like starts the entire chain of Gizamons going in and out of the graveyard here. Oh my god, I breathed too hard there. Oh my god, almost choked, even. So all of them all share the same. Well, almost all of them all share the same thing. Where, if they would enter play, you would delete a Digimon of a certain level, and then they would do a thing, and they would also reduce their like play cost. So Gizamon is usually a 1, AT is usually a 2, and XT is usually a 3. And then their individual effects, Gizamon, Proto Gizamon here, draw 1, trash 1, and then AT here, draw 2, trash 2, and then XT, you play Kurata from the graveyard. This is your main way of basically cheating in Kurata here into play using Gizamon XT. So there's that. And then they also share an effect where if they are deleted, you can, by placing two cards named Gizamon from the trash at the bottom of the deck, you can basically level it up into another of the Gizamons. So if Proto Gizamon is deleted, and then you have like spare Gizamons in the graveyard, you can bring out 80, and then if 80 is destroyed, you can shuffle back in, or you can put two Gizamon at the bottom, and then you summon out XT. Of note, XT is the only one who doesn't have this effect for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. If XT is deleted, you go back into Gizamon, for or rather Proto Gizamon. So yeah, these three Digimon are like form a really insane resource loop that I find that some decks cannot fight through so well. Although granted, if they do manage to destroy Gizamon XT or AT before you can you can set up properly, it's going to be really hard to bounce back from. Of note, Gizamon XT is a really good blocker. At 9,000 DP, not a lot of Digimon can punch through that. And then you would usually just use AT and also Gizamon to like draw through your deck. And like I said earlier, a lot of cards in this deck all say draw this amount of cards, and then you you trash them out. So yeah. Then one of the last low level Digimon in the deck, Fascomon. Again, same with Demimeramon. You draw one, trash one on deletion, and then it has an inherited effect. At the end of an opponent's turn, once per turn, you draw one, trash one. So it's basically a Digimon version of Kurata here. Although it doesn't, unlike Kurata, it doesn't like equip itself to another Belphemon. So no shenanigans there. And then the last two cards in this deck, because I already discussed the Gizamons in length, the two purple memory boost. Again, you can just convert this into two analog boys, but again, sometimes the +2 memory is more than enough. Then the one of fun of Valmon. Because there's like a surprising amount of stuff in here that can stop your opponent from like making good attacks, because baby Belphi here can negate an attack. Gizamon XT is a surprisingly large blocker, so Valmon is like, oh, okay, we need to fill a slot, so I guess it goes to Valmon. So yeah, that is my deck profile for Belphemon here. I look forward to playing more with this deck. Of note, I do not have any of these alt arts IRL. They are far too expensive for my tastes, and I am more than happy just rocking the normal stuff here. Because this untap, you can like choose any of the versions that you wish. So I chose basically I chose the bling versions because I can. Because it is a free digital simulator after all. So yeah, if you like what you saw, hit like, comment, subscribe, and share this among your friends. And until next time, toodles.